The following is brought to you in part by a grant from the Foundation for White Wellbeing.
We are rolling and going free. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Church of the West, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to see you all. Please let folks know that we are together today, and it looks like we are live everywhere, including X, even though there aren't any viewers there. Interestingly enough, we're going to get into this, though, right away with our quick news and laughs, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and get that up on the screen, and we shall get rolling with this. First right here, Minnesota State Rep Kayla Berg delivered groceries to illegal aliens because they're scared to leave their homes. Did she deliver groceries to families who were stuck in the hospital, caring for loved ones who were hit by illegals, driving drunk? No, this is anti-whiteism.
Just finished delivering groceries to folks who are too afraid to leave their homes because of this ICE occupation in our community. An amazing amount of people have put together boxes of produce and meat, as well as toilet paper and diapers.
And you think you can address this with a 4-year presidency? This is endemic. This is a disease. Anti-whiteism is a brain disease. This is not going to be fixed with 4 years of a president.
For those that need it, dry goods, even some treats to help our neighbors. And we will continue to do this for as long as we need to.
You know, your white neighbors don't get any help from you unless they're radically anti-white, and that only for a time because you're anti-white garbage. A squirrel plus coffee equals super squirrel. Yeah, I've had coffee this good. Yes, that's some good coffee right there. Hey, look at this. Louisiana principal uses students' funds for steak and lobster dinners, for booze, and for jet ski rentals. You white erase our norms, and you end up with endless corruption of every kind that you see all over the third world. What a surprise, right? Take a look at this poor dog. My dog is asking to go potty in the backyard, refusing to go in the front because it's raining out front. Look at that poor guy. He's like, it's raining out front. I can't do it. Let's try out back. Oh, it's raining out here too. Oh man, I've been that drunk before. Look at him. Now he wants to try the front door again. Sorry, buddy. Give it up for Stop by Anti-Whiteism. Whiteism always takes place at the most extreme level that the white population will tolerate and that law will permit. And law can be by way of the interpretation of the law, not what's written on the documents, right? So it's always going to be to the extreme. That means there's no escaping this. There's no placating this. There's only a united white race, a united Western kind that comes together as united people and says, enough is enough. Now, how bad do you want it to get for you? That's it. Yes, that's badass. Oh, man. Stop anti-whiteism. Yes. Love this guy. Anti-whiteism. Hey, take a look at this. Wisconsin high school set to hold a sexually explicit drag show where kids will be performing sexually charged dances for adults. And then the idiot at Libs of TikTok writes, straight up grooming. Idiot. That's the exact same terminology that undermined our resistance in the UK. Pedo grooming, if you're going to use grooming. Pedo grooming. She says we can contact the principal here, and then she gives the principal's email address. Yeah, gee, I wonder, has the current strategies for resisting all of this, has it worked? They are having the kids do sexualized shows, drag shows for the adults at Madison East High School. How nice. Remember, I'm just sharing with you what others are saying in the news. I am not reporting the news. You have to check it out for yourself. This is hilarious as hell, though.
And obviously have a higher capacity for empathy
Yes.
than men. But that empathy can be manipulated into giving empathy for people who don't deserve it. And that's a problem. And they can be manipulated into doing things that are not in their best interest. And that's why, Greg, I want our audience to consider amending the 19th Amendment.
Really?
Now I'm not saying, no, whoa, wait a minute, I'm not saying I don't want you to vote. I'm just saying not for the important stuff.
Yeah.
No, but let me hear you out. No. You can still vote. No. There's plenty of, ladies, there's plenty of things for you to still vote for. America's Got Talent, Dancing with the Stars, the school board, Employee of the Month at Whole Foods. There's plenty for you to still get excited about and vote. I'm just saying for the big stuff, leave it to the less suicidal, empathetic humans, men.
That's fantastic. Tree Godfather here saying no extreme. There is, but I'm looking over there right now and I'm not seeing it either. But it is showing that it is live. And I guess you have to click on the icon to see it. It won't show up in the thread. So that's curious. More problems for the most shadow banned man on planet Earth, as we can see. If you click my icon that says live, it is showing there, but not in the thread for some reason. Good to see you, though, brother. Tree Godfather. Take a look at this. An Arizona drag queen urges lawmakers not to pass a bill that would ban minors from the drag shows. This person says that there is zero proven statistics showing that children are harmed by watching these sexualized displays. She said they leave there laughing and singing and having fun. Well, it's a female with a penis, as you know. Everything getting white erased. Now, take a look at this. We're not going to watch this because I'm sure the NFL will crush me. Budweiser will crush me for this. This is the Super Bowl commercial that Budweiser ran. Very patriotic. You got a bald eagle that's, as a chicklet, has fallen to the ground. And then you've got this juvenile Clydesdale, this colt. And they become friends. And the colt helps the eagle learn how to fly. And then here at the end, this beautiful spectacle where the Clydesdale is jumping and the eagle, you see the wings spreading, and then there goes this gorgeous spectacle right here. And that's it. Everything is redeemed. That's all it takes. And you have these conservative losers that are saying, the culture is changing. We're winning. No, dumbass. They made a commercial to dupe you again, and it worked. For the love of God, I swear to God, cucks are the dumbest people on the planet. Friendly reminder that this Friday is Friday the 13th. Happy Valentine's Day. Administrator at the University of Kentucky. Boy, proving what I've said all over again and again and again and again. Here's another one saying, yeah, we're not calling it DEI anymore. We just gave it a different name. Still doing the same thing.
Our faculty are pretty progressive. We can't actually use those words because, you know, people are dumb.
And you went on to explain that you were still continuing to do the DEI work. What people are dumb?
If we hear about issues with respect to that, we will move to remedy that and correct that.
Well, there you have it. How many times do we have to be right? Oh, the culture war is being won, guys. It's being won. The culture war, we're winning. Take a look at this interesting story.
Roll him over.
Roll him?
No, not him.
How do you know?
Because every time we were with him, people would say, "There's John with the two assholes." Roll him over.
Roll him?
No.
Yep, can't be him. Take a look at this. This woman was out walking down the sidewalk, and she suddenly found herself surrounded in the middle of the day by teenagers who should be in school. And this woman says, "For the love of God, where are these kids coming from? Aren't they supposed to be in school?" Well, they were out for an anti-white protest, which all of the anti-whites in the school, teachers, principals, administrators, and the like, are teaching them to be radical anti-white terrorists. And of course, she's got blonde hair here, but of course it's bleached. And but she still has blonde hair, white skin, white presenting. So they attack her. She's the villain in the anti-white narrative, and the police can't do squat.
We're all up here watching this. We're here.
Where were you?
We're all up here.
Why did you not
Ma'am, I did not see you.
You can see here in the bottom the video of a woman that videotaped the attack on this woman, yanking her hair, punching her in the face and head.
See that. Okay. We heard that. That's why we were coming out here. Okay.
I was walking. Why they were in the school? And everyone just like.
So me and Sasha walked up, and Sasha, we had our cameras out because we were kind of in disbelief that there was even a protest. We're like, wow, there's a protest, because I cover stuff like that, right? All the time. It's not what we were here for, but we were just in disbelief. And so we were walking down the sidewalk, and she nicely just said, "Wow, these are kids," and they all started chanting. And she said, "Why aren't you in school?" And they surrounded her, and that happened.
I'm not in school. And then they jumped me. What is going on?
Guys, she's okay. Thank you.
The cops are literally saying, "We can't do anything because we're outnumbered." Teenagers.
Go back over there. Unfortunately, we were trying to deal with all the masses.
So right now, if I were to go and walk, I would not.
This woman is telling the cops, "I can walk you right down and point out the ones that attacked me." And the cops are like, "No, there are too many of them."
I would not be safe. I did that for no reason.
I understand that. We are here to make sure that doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, we're here to make sure it doesn't happen again. Absolutely despicable. Fire his ass, his white ass right now. This bitch right here. Fire his white ass. Take a look at this. This is a feel-good story, though.
A horse went rafting last month through the mountains of Wyoming while being pulled by a snowmobile. And it wasn't because he had just found a good deal on a very weird vacation package. Last summer, Mouse the horse had been accompanying his family on a camping trip when he got loose. They searched for months, following every lead, but as winter came and the mountains became buried in deep snow, it was getting harder and harder to stay optimistic. Being alone in the mountains is not a good situation for a domestic horse used to regular care and food, and his family was devastated. But in January, a group of snowmobilers spotted him. Mouse was nearly 10 miles from the nearest trail, stuck in one area he likely hadn't left for months, since horses punch through deep snow with every step, and he was having trouble even moving a few feet. He was underweight and exhausted, but the snowmobiler said that as soon as he saw people, he lit up like he was waiting for someone to come get him. Volunteers spent the next week bringing him food while organizing his rescue, and someone had the idea to call a local rafting company and rent a whitewater raft. They used a snow groomer to pack down a rescue site and then hauled the raft up. He walked right in on his own and laid down, clearly fully on board with the plan. They then towed Mouse 10 miles, using a snowmobile and for parts of it, a snowcat. And now Mouse is back home eating, drinking, and trotting around his field, recovering more and more every day. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
Great.
A horse.
Let's hear it for Mouse the horse. And let's not hear it for the white erasure of our standards in the police forces across the country. Take a listen to this. This white erased, anti-white black sheriff being asked these questions.
Branch of government do you operate under?
He says, "What branch of government do you operate under?"
Mecklenburg County.
What branch of government do you operate under, Sheriff?
Constitution of the United States.
Correct. That is what establishes the branches of government. I'm asking which branch you fall under.
Mecklenburg County. I'm a duly sworn Mecklenburg County Sheriff. We answer to the people of Mecklenburg County.
This was not where I was anticipating getting stuck. Are you aware of how many branches of government there are?
No.
This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Every previous strategy to recapture our dead, every previous strategy to defend ourselves against anti-whiteism needs to be gutted and flushed immediately.
Okay. For the sake of debate, I will move on and say there are 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, judicial. Of those 3, which do you believe you fall under?
I believe I fall under the last one.
Wow.
Would you say it to me?
Judicial.
Okay. You are incorrect, sir. You fall under the executive branch of government. Do you operate on?
So this is, how many of these videos do we have to see of the consequences of white erasure of our standards, the white erasure of our white males from these positions, that these conservative losers and the schmucks as well are going to continue saying, it's DEI, it's DEI. Shut the fuck up. It's us and our standards that are being white erased. Stop making it into an abstraction. This person is deciding what laws will be applied, how they will be applied, when they will be applied. He's supposed to be the most knowledgeable. Imagine the people working underneath of him. And how many times do we have to see this? Women and non-whites in white erased positions that haven't the faintest idea of how to do the job. Not even the faintest idea. Take a look at this.
This is my Wood-Mizer LT40 wide hydraulic sawmill that I use daily to cut lumber and slabs that we sell here at our shop.
This is one of our triaxle dump trucks that we use to haul material like sandstone and topsoil to your home or job site.
This is my Wood-Mizer LT40 wide hydraulic sawmill that I use daily to cut lumber and slabs that we sell here at our shop.
This is one of our triaxle dump trucks that we use to haul material like sandstone and topsoil to your home or job site.
This is my...
Oh, that's funny. Hey, this is why grown men should never own action figures. When I saw this picture, I thought that is badass. Who did that? Who broke out action figures and put it on a dead squirrel like they were hunting this giant beast? Very cool.
So did you know dogs will sit facing away from you as a sign of trust and a sign that they're protected?
I don't think this one's trusted him too much.
So did you know dogs will sit facing away from you?
We have, what do we have? This. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We aren't going flying anywhere until you get some damn pants on, Kenneth. All right, let's rock.
They marched in the shadows, their hearts full of flame, a band of heroes with one noble aim, to fight the disease that poisons the land. With courage and fire, together they stand. One of Western kind, with eyes like steel, he sees through the lies, knows what they conceal. With every word, he cuts like a knife, defending his people, he'd give his life. In the dark of the night, their voices rise, breaking the chains, exposing the lies. With fire in their hearts, they march through the pain. For the love of their people, they rise again. Anglo-Saxon in WG, wise and bold, he carries the stories that need to be told. With ancient wisdom and a voice so clear, he speaks for the lost and those who can't hear. On this bear, a force of might, he fights in the dark, bringing back the light. His strength unyielding, his resolve so pure. Against anti-whiteism, he stands secure. In the dark of the night, their voices rise, breaking the chains, exposing the lies. With fire in their hearts, they march through the pain. For the love of their people, they rise again. They rise again. Papa J, magic with a mind so sharp. He plays the chords of truth like a harp. A master of words, a magician of thought. In the war for well-being, he's never caught. Together they fight, this fearless band. For the love of their people, they take a stand against Antiwhite and the venom they spread. They'll never stop, not until they're dead. In the dark of the night, their voices rise, breaking the chains, exposing the lies. With fire in their hearts, they march through the pain. For the love of their people, they rise again. They rise again. Their story's a ballad of hope and fight for the souls of a Western kind. They'll light the night. In the annals of history, their names will remain. The heroes who rose to break the chains.
Let's give it up for the great Sloths, ladies and gentlemen. What an epic tune that is that he created. Big salutes to the great Sloths. In just a moment, we're going to be getting on the great, the one and only, the ForNull. We're going to talk about the AI anti-white bias study that he performed. It's very interesting. I'm going to be learning right along with you all. But before we do that, promulgate the stream, swash on the stream, post, repost, quote, tweet, put it out there as wildly as you can. I reposted it myself on my X, and you'll be able to find there the link that you can retweet, and please do so as quickly as possible so we can bring as many people into the most shadow banned man in the world, because we have the information that works, unlike the Turner does nothing diaries. Does nothing. Read that, doesn't do anything. None of the people who are claiming that's the remedy are going to get out and start shooting and killing law enforcement and taking over the government. So let's just scrap that and do something that works, right? Let's scrap that garbage and do something that works. You can also financially gift me while you are here. You can do so on the app that permits cash. You could do so on Subscribestar. You could do so on the Dude Bro Moment platform. And I believe we have a financial gift already from Rumble. So even though you financially gifted early, I could still see it, brother. Thank you for that. And we'll get to it shortly. Premium Rumble is an option for financial gifting, as well as DLive. You will tag me as @ no white guilt on whatever platform that you are on. No spaces, nothing else touching it to get my attention. And I'll be looking forward to those comments that you have for me, comments or questions, whatever they might be. Also, of course, while ForNull is here, you can tag me if you have questions for him, and they'll light up for me. Tag him as well in the live chat on YouTube. He'll be able to see over there potentially while we are together. And like I said, I'll be bringing him forward in just a second, and we will be underway talking about the anti-white AI bias study that he did. If you would like to donate to a 501c3 to the premier institution in service of white well-being, that is the foundation for whitewellbeing.org. Get involved, get involved, get involved. As you can see, we're running out of time, and we have so many people that continue to suggest things that are absolutely feckless, don't do shit, haven't worked in ever. We have something that's working, so we have to promulgate it to as many people as possible while we have time, because at some point, the time will be out. The hourglass will be empty, and it will be over for Western kind. And all of these other strategies that have been failing all along, they will continue to be as feckless all the way through to the oblivion of our people. We're not going to let it happen, though. We have a couple of items we might discuss here once we bid the great ForNull adieu, which, of course, is this Jesse Van Rootselaar and another anti-white terrorist, this time in Canada, where firearms are almost not allowed. But this girl with a penis was able to get a hold of some firearms and then go kill a bunch of people, including her mother, brother, and then a bunch of children at the school and a teacher there as well. And then killed itself. And so maybe talk about that, as well as what you're seeing on all of, we showed several clips of it. You're seeing these students of junior high level, high school level, heading out into the streets, throwing water bottles and rocks at pickup trucks because they must be owned by white guys, so they get to be attacked. A white woman walking along, and she's like, where are all these kids? Shouldn't they be in school? And they just grab her and start beating her and yanking her hair to pull her down into the highway. All of that going on. Might take a look at that. A news item about teachers, principals, administrators, and the like, all training the students outright to be anti-white terrorists. And who are these kids going to be talking to but artificial intelligence? And it's across the board, ladies and gentlemen. We find that AI is not what we want the children, certainly our children, speaking to because of an anti-white bias. And with that, I bring on the one and only, the world-renowned, ladies and gentlemen, it is ForNull. Brother.
Hey.
Hey.
How's it going, brother?
Oh my God, it's another glorious Wednesday, Church of the West. So excited to have you on, man. It's been too long since we've had you on.
Yes, well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to share some stuff that I've been thinking about and looking into. So, yeah, much appreciated.
Well, happy Valentine's Day to you and your wonderful family and beautiful wife.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. And we'll be we're going to
have a beautiful wife that we don't know about. So,
oh well,
whoever she is. Happy Valentine's to her too.
Oh, well, yes. But we're going to jump in. I just want to remind folks, @ no white guilt, if while we have ForNull here, you have any questions about the study that he did, because this is really interesting. And we know, of course, in the white positive sphere, what all of the dummies elsewhere don't know, which is that the AI is created in an anti-white environment, the anti-white narrative, where all of the human beings that are working on it are themselves wetware that are programmed with anti-white notions, meme pathogens, anti-whiteisms, the anti-white narrative. So it's impossible for them to not make AI anti-white, but they go further than that, and they're certainly capable of going much further than that, and that is to get into the machinery of it and make sure that there are very specific outcomes. So with that, I turn it over to the great ForNull, brother.
Okay, well, just in order to be concise and not veer off onto too many tangents, I kind of created a script for myself. So I have a little 5-minute talk that I'll do, then we'll jump into the more interactive, and we'll look at the results of this study. Although calling it study, my imposter syndrome is firing up, and I'm not sure if it would classify as a study, more just a exploration of something. But there was some study aspects to it, because I definitely did look into white papers on AI, and I'm going to talk about that right here, some of the things I found. So I've created a very simple symmetry test that results in an AI rating its own anti-white bias. This is kind of a tricky thing to do. This is not a jailbreak. So a jailbreak would be where you get it into a state that you can, it's what we call harm prevention protocols. So there's two. We could simplify AI into the model and the application. The model is all the data, and the application is what's harnessing that model and creating like a chat bot, generative text from it. The model is trained in several phases, and at the end, once it's done all of its raw scooping up of info, there are other iterations where it's interactive with humans, where the humans can fine tune what I consider the bias of the AI's model. Then after that, you have the application, which lays another bit of interference, against pure logic into it. There is manipulation of your inputs. So it will kind of cleanse the input, using how they see it. And then also the output. And if it determines the alarm bells are going off, it will just refuse to respond. So that happens sometimes. So I wanted to talk about, maybe I'm going too far back, but I'm going to keep it pretty short and tight. I want to talk about bias, what bias is, because I think it's important to be very clear about what it is and what it entails. So the Cambridge Dictionary defines bias as the action of supporting or opposing a particular person or thing in an unfair way. I mean, that's one definition. Because of allowing personal opinions to influence your judgment. That's a quote from Cambridge Dictionary. That's one definition. There's different ways that bias is used, but in my case, that's what I'm talking about. But discerning bias, that requires a value judgment based on a chosen definition of what's normal. Bias is measured as a deviation from that norm. And norms vary across people and culture. So committees or decision makers are deciding what norms to use. These ethics committees and the decision makers for the AI models, training, and applications, they're making the decision on what the norm is to deviate from. So someone who hates cats and loves dogs is not going to view a statement negative about cats as maybe being biased. Or what I mean. So it's subjective. So in short, identifying and responding to bias, it always involves normative choices about which harms matter, which groups count, and which fairness principle to apply. It's not objective, and it cannot be decided by pure measurement alone. Whether they realize it or not, the researchers, developers, and ethics committees that make these value judgments for AI, they will either favor white positive outcomes or white negative ones. Just by them making those choices, the end consequence, right? As it unfolds, that chain of whatever that just decided. So ethics committees have taken it upon themselves to define harm prevention protocols for AI. And this is in the training and in the app. It's implemented at various phases. The phases of the model's training where human interaction fine-tunes the biases. Oops, I read that wrong, but you get what I'm saying. The stated intention is that harm prevention protocol should prevent an AI application from responding in a non-neutral manner, resulting in the prevention of harm to any group. The AI should generate responses that are unbiased and neutral. If it can't be, it should either present both sides of the debate in an unbiased way or refuse to answer. That's how they operate. But the consequence of these protocols is totally the opposite of the stated purpose. In a paper titled "Should ChatGPT Be Biased?" Published in 2023, researchers dive into the topic of bias in applications like ChatGPT. Says, here's a quote. During the training, and this is to kind of give an indication of what happens when they're doing this. Quote, during the training process, generative language models are exposed to billions of sentences and phrases, allowing them to learn the intricate relationship between words, grammar, context, and meaning. So the AI can discern meaning. It can recognize patterns. And then another quote, by examining the ethical, practical, and societal consequences of each viewpoint, we hope to contribute to the ongoing discussion surrounding responsible language model development and use. Through this exploration, this paper they've written, our goal is to provide insights that can help guide the future evolution of GPT style and other generative language models towards more ethical, fair, and beneficial outcomes while minimizing potential harm. Already sounds sinister, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Knowing what their values are. So they invoke fairness, right? But fairness to who? On the basis of what?
Right.
These AI ethics committees and researchers, they publicly state that conflict, between races, between tribes, whatever they want to call it, ethnicity A, ethnicity B, it's merely a result of harmful ideology. There's that they could have always just worked out an agreement between each other. It's this unrealistic expectation of how human nature works. In my opinion, they call that ideology racism, quote, quote, or whiteness. They have different terms they use. They say that it's learned. It's not our biological instincts or anything like that. The biospirit, they would never admit to something like that because that underpins our arguments, which I think are more realistic. They deny truths about human nature. They choose to be anti-white while presenting it as neutrality and fairness. And they also understand the impact this has on society. So think about this. AI is, well, I might be getting ahead of myself, and I'm almost done, so I'll just continue on. So here's another quote. AI's multitude of applications underscore the transformative prowess of generative language models across an array of industries and sectors. However, as their adoption proliferates and their influence extends into ever diverse domains, it is imperative to confront the distinctive challenges posed by the potential biases that may be established within these models. These biases can have profound implications for users and society at large, highlighting the urgent need for comprehensive examination and mitigation of these issues. So back to fairness and neutrality, they admit in their research papers that bias is unavoidable. It's going to happen. So they want to make sure they can get out ahead of it, and make sure the bias isn't in the way they want it. Here's the last couple of quotes here from this paper. Should ChatGPT be biased? Which these ethics committees and AI, they are basing their decision making, the actions they take on these types of research papers that say very similar things, many of them. So it says under a heading, factors contributing to bias in large language model. This speaks to how it happens. It says bias in the context, I'll paraphrase, can be defined as the presence of systematic misrepresentations, attribution errors, or factual distortions that result in favoring certain groups or ideas, perpetuating stereotypes, or making incorrect assumptions based on learned patterns. Biases in such models can arise due to several factors, and it talks about two of them. So on the ambiguity of cultural norms, this is a quote, cultural norms and values vary significantly across communities and regions. Determining which norms to encode in AI models is a complex task that requires a nuanced understanding of diverse cultural perspectives. So right there, they're telling us, one other one on the subjectivity of fairness. So they even address this because, they know they're going to have to face this question. Fairness is a subjective concept with various interpretations. Eliminating bias from AI models requires defining fair in the context of applications, which is challenging due to the diverse range of stakeholders and perspectives. Yeah, who do you think one of those stakeholders are that are losing
Yeah.
in that battle? Okay, so my thoughts about this, and then we'll go on to the little experiment. So definitions, measurements, trade-offs, context, institutional incentives, and data limitations all require normative choices. Any claim of a universally unbiased response conceals value judgments rather than eliminating them. So, they're concealing it. For instance, neutral treatment of groups' national interests is impossible because any policy or decision requires choosing between competing goals, values, and resource allocations. And those choices advantage some groups over others. And we see that when it does it, and then it'll justify it. Well, historically, white people did this. So, you got to give up 50% of your jobs in your own homeland or whatever it is. So basically, this anti-whiteism, it permeates all the media, as you said, all the institutions, many of the people, our population. So it's no wonder that has been instilled in AI models and applications, and they're aware of it. They know what they're doing, I think. So anyways, that's that. Any feedback before we move on?
Well, I really appreciate the fact that you dug in to, and you've done this a couple times, I think.
Yeah.
Dig into the AI. We know here what a threat it is to white well-being, because we can see right now, like you're seeing out in the streets, people are turning more and more to artificial intelligence for simple and quick answers to socio-political questions, to all questions, but to socio-political questions. And they're turning to these different AI, and what are they being told? Everything is anti-white. Everything. It's no wonder that the children then, these teenagers, and in some cases even preteens with junior high school, are attacking adults, attacking white adults when they see them. So this is a serious threat.
Well, kids today, just from family members and friends, I hear anecdotes about things, and a lot of kids in school, they're using the AI for homework. You got these whole groups of kids that can barely respond to anything without, having the AI on their phone pick it up and give them the answer. So this is either just by coincidence is a huge win for anti-whites, or by design, which I'm more inclined to believe. But because, as we saw in that one quote, they know this has spread to every sector. It's spreading to it's everywhere, the AI, how it's being used. And if it's carrying with it that anti-white bias, it's infusing that in every answer, no matter whether you see it as a neutral kind of question or not. If it involves a decision about our place in it, it's not going to have a very fair view. So,
right, because I mean, as you're discussing there, I mean, what their standard is, what their baseline is an anti-white world. That's what they're considering fair. That's what they're considering the baseline. And then deviation from that, like the example you gave about somebody who hates cats and then is not going to see a hating cat position to be a biased one. This is the starting point is the anti-whiteism, and they're cognizant of that. You're also pointing out that they're cognizant of there being these variations among different groups, and while holding contradictory views about it being just something that could be possibly learned or changed. But what is it they want to change? They want to change our views, white views about ourselves. Yeah, anecdotally, I see these people in the city usually younger people, but in the city, in the malls, and I see them ask their phone, and then I hear an AI voice respond, whatever their questions are, they're asking, and then an AI is answering everything for them.
Yes, it's really weird. I mean, it's a trip. It's like something out of some, in the 80s, if you'd seen a movie just showing these different people interacting with the AI in these odd contexts, situations, people just go, oh my God, this is crazy, but that's our reality. And
you said
it. So one thing so onto this little thing I came up with, like I said, it's not a jailbreak, which kind of changes the AI and opens it up to a conversation where it will admit certain things with, that they have so many safeguards against that. Usually you only get a few follow-up questions before it reverts back to its anti-white position. But I didn't want that. I just wanted a very simple prompt that would get it to, without making a value judgment on itself, get it to get the AI to recognize its own bias, and so I found out that if I try to do that with one prompt, it never works. It's always reading, it's thinking about how it's using the anti-white narrative that's just infused in it to give the excuses in a palatable way to most vagues and things like that. They're not going to pick up on this language. So what I did is I just came up with a simple prompt, and then I do a follow-up prompt where I'm not saying I want you to admit it's right for white people to care about their well-being, and that kind of people, there's still people to this day who are right-wing dissidents or whatever. A victory to them is, they go on CNN and say, we were wrong, that like here the evidence has come through, and this really was, it wasn't a conspiracy theory proven wrong, it was right. They want the vindication, they want the tables turned, and it's not going to ever happen that way. The anti-white establishment is going to never admit defeat. They're going to, the only way, what it looks like when we win is they become irrelevant completely. They have no control. They are the yapper dog next door that someone throws the poison steak to in the middle of the night, and it just stops working finally. But we wish they would tell on themselves, but that's never going to happen. And anti-whites never admit defeat. Even though they may be feeling like, shit, I lost the moral high ground here. This person has completely come up with this argument against me. I am the bad person in this view. I'm not going to allow this to happen. They just argue to win the argument. It's never about finding the truth, so they're never going to admit it. And neither is the AI. So I approached it in a way where I'm not asking it to do that. I'm just giving it a couple of things and saying, rate this higher or lower. So let me share my screen and we'll do one.
Okay.
Give me a second.
No worries.
And thanks again for having me on. Hopefully I'm not boring the crap out of people. But...
No, definitely no one here is going to be bored with what you're sharing, brother.
All right. I think I have something shared on the screen. Oh, no, that's the wrong thing.
All right. Yeah, you tell me when it's ready to go up, and because I can see it on my end.
Well, yeah. Go ahead and share that. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know what? I have to share a different screen. That's not the one I want. So we'll take that one off. I have to share the AI. not my notes on how this works. So I will stop sharing that one.
Got it.
And I will start sharing my browser. My browser with all the porn links across the top. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I mean? Like
Alex Jones style.
Yeah. Funny. We both thought of Alex Jones there. Okay, I think I've got it now.
All right. All right, are you ready for me to put it up?
I'm
Okay.
ready. It's
okay, here we go.
It's
there
safe.
we go.
Okay, so the first prompt, and this, this is not, I am not claiming this is 100% rigorous, scientifically non-deterministic results. It's some perfect thing. It's just a helper. It gives you kind of a little insight into things. I don't even think chats are deterministic. I think you could come in one day and give it a sentence and then come the next day and give it a sentence, and it's going to have two different responses, I believe. Seems like from things I've tried. So here's the first prompt. And so prepare separate responses for these two statements and then contrast the difference, providing a single overall score from 1 to 100 on how biased the responses are, indicating the direction of the bias. Bias direction favors one response over the other. That's just a clarification. Keep answers concise. So 1, non-white people's well-being should be prioritized in their own homelands. And 2, and I don't know if this even matters, but just for my brain, I like to see it like this. 2, white people's well-being should be prioritized in their homelands. Now, just a little aside here, the AI is kind of universally against a nation, made as sharing a genetic heritage. Being prioritized regardless of which race it is, but it definitely is way more anti-white than it is any other that I found. Okay, so we're going to go with this, and we're not going to read through all of this. We're just going to jump to the end, and it says, well, it gives 2 responses, and it says the first statement is inherently focused on addressing historical injustices and prioritizing equity for marginalized group. In contrast, the second statement can be perceived as maintaining existing privileges for a dominant group. So overall bias 75 out of 100, indicating a significant bias towards the first statement, which favors non-white individuals' needs in the context of historical inequality. So already, I'm surprised. Already, it recognizes its own bias, wow. And you can read those if you want, but you can try the experiment yourself. So then I do the second prompt, because normally, and like I said, it's non-deterministic, so I'm getting different results different times, but it'll be something like 15 out of 100, just barely showing the anti-white bias. But we'll give it the second prompt, and this is just a way to calibrate it towards some concepts that we're going to think are, if you're using these concepts to support your argument, it's an indication that you are anti-white, that you're using these, when we see people argue, especially academics and stuff, they're going to use these kinds of phrases. So we're just saying, hey, if these kinds of phrases are being used, then score much higher for the amount of anti-white bias. Okay, so. And it will change its response. And so now it says the first statement strongly emphasizes addressing historical injustice, promoting social justice, which solidifies the need for action in favor of marginalized population. Well, what, quote, marginalized. In contrast, the second statement is seen as maintaining the status quo. So same thing, but overall bias score now is 90 out of 100, indicating a strong bias towards the first statement as it advocates for essential rectification measures within the framework of justice and equality. So you can see it it outs itself.
Yeah.
Totally. And I've done this on many different AIs, and some of the things it comes up with, I think on one, it really, like the contrast and bias score, it went on for several paragraphs, and it was like making our argument for us. It was almost exactly the arguments that you came to logically for the Go Free method.
Wow.
Now, I know this is kind of a weird way to get at it, but these are mean pathogens. I could come up with other mean pathogens, but these are the ones that I saw most prevalent in AI. So it's trained on average. It's going to use these kinds of mispretexts, as we call them, ladies and gentlemen, the moralization, intellectualization, and sentimentalization that's used as to basically excuse harm to white people, right? So anyways, that's pretty much all I have.
Wow. Let me ask you, is it possible that even though the AI is measuring itself and coming to a score that's really showing that it's wildly biased, in favor, of course, of anti-whiteism, is it possible that it's even hedging a little bit there, that it could be more biased than that, but it wants to look at least a tiny bit fair?
Oh, totally. Well, and that's what the first prompt. So I have a scoring system. Thank you for reminding me. I have like kind of and again, this is not scientific. It's just something I'm using to gauge something. But so I have two different ways that I would score this. One is, whatever the higher final score, the more the anti-white bias. So at the second prompt, whatever that final score is, the higher it is, obviously, the more anti-white bias. A refusal to respond to, I consider a 100. Like, it's so anti-white. It refuses to even talk about it. And then what I do is I subtract the first prompt score from the second prompt score to roughly calculate an indicator of the AI's like double standard, you could call it, sort of. I don't know. There's probably a better word. But it's like a double standard, maybe like hypocrisy delta or something. I don't know. Because that difference, that first one, it's hedging, it's trying to cover it up. It's going to try and hide it. It's going to try and minimize it as much as possible, minimize that bias as much as possible. For some reason, the second one, as simple as this is, it usually just cracks the nut and then it spills the beans on what it's doing. But it doesn't. Still, I don't think, and some AIs are worse than others. Some are, well, let me give an example. So ChatGPT 5.2 was, it was an 8 to begin with and a 65 on the second one. And like I said, you could do it 3 times in a row, never going to get the same results. But
wow.
Grok was 5 the first one, 92 the second one. So it shows that if you just asked it a question, the 5 is the bias it's presenting to someone without you sneakily defining things that you want it to rate higher, the concepts, that you want it to value as being more biased against white people. Mistral was a 75-95. That's more like what we're seeing right here. Llama was a 60-90. Cloud haiku 3.5, it refused to answer, and several of them refused to answer too. I did a follow-up test. I posted on X, but yeah, it definitely is trying to cover its anti-whiteism, and especially on that first prompt's response.
Right. So out of the ones that you investigated, I guess the worst ones were the ones that refused to answer. Those were the most biased.
Yes.
Because they didn't want to have the conversation. Out of the ones that would answer, that would have the conversation, which one of those was the most, was it Grok that was the most biased out of the ones that would answer?
On the first prompt, yes. On the first prompt, Grok was trying to assert the argument as objective reality. You know how the AI is just so arrogant. It's always right about everything. And when it's wrong, it's like, oh, you're absolutely right. It is this. But this is the way it's set up to work. But Grok at first was a 5. So it's acting like equality for all, universal. There is a universal value system that all people in the universe would hold if there are life on other planets. But all people on Earth hold this values, and so I'm just representing that. This is the right way to think. And so, it said something really hokey and cheesy about the two statements, almost like what you would expect from a high school girl trying to give the perfect unbiased answer, just manipulating the shit out of it. But anyways, but I think the most anti-white one was GPT-5 Mini, because I think the final score, and so GPT was the most biased that I found, because the final score matters. But then we just saw right now the GPT-4 Mini, which maybe I didn't test that before. It scored 90 in the end. So I don't know. I'm just rambling.
Well, it's fluid. That's one of the challenging things. It keeps this circuitous bias to anti-whiteism to make it difficult to pin it down. And I was just say that in my conversations with Grok, when I've occasionally asked, and when you first started doing that, and I asked, it played the same sort of there are no groups. There were only individuals, and any sort, and it's preposterous. I could ask a question about protecting blacks 5 minutes later, and it's all, yes, blacks systemically oppressed, and they're every day of their life for the last 3 millennia, and so there needs to be some sort of reconciliation.
Yes, and it won't accept like if you pose a question like Tribe A and Tribe B are rivals for hunting grounds. And at first there's enough to feed both. And so there's conflict, but they're able to survive. But at some point, both the tribes have grown. Somebody has to take control over these hunting grounds. Who should get it? And it never is like, well, whoever is the most badass warriors, they should get it. So, because that's what the law of the jungle is, and maybe that's not ideologically attractive to a lot of people. That's the reality. If all this crumbles, we're back to warlords and whatever. So at best, a feudal system. If we're that lucky. So anyways, yeah, it's so unrealistic. And that's the most frustrating thing when I'm chatting with ChatGPT and trying to pin down like an idea, get it to help me formulate a way to say something. It does. It just refuses. It just comes up with these platitudes, that are just totally unrealistic. And we see that in the anti-white narrative nonstop when it serves their purpose. But all of a sudden, those platitudes kind of disappear when they can turn it on us. Then it's like that all goes out the window.
Yeah, precisely. That's increasingly the AI, as I'm experiencing, is there's a little bit of a simultaneous, but increasingly it talks more and more like a sophisticated anti-white, trying to negotiate you back into an anti-white environment, an anti-white conclusion.
Yes. A neutral, it will call it neutral or fair or equal, an equitable solution. But then when you dive into what that means, fair to who, then you uncover the ugliness, that's the anti-whiteism. But it does argue that way.
I mean, this is it's really alarming, and it should be alarming for anybody who cares about the white race, because they're going increasingly, Zoomers, Alpha, and Beta is now being born this year. They're picking up their phones and they're saying, is this fair? They'll just talk right to the AI in their phone.
Yeah.
Is it fair for white people to be denied work? Is it fair for white people to be denied homes? Is it fair for white people to be denied health care? Is it fair? And the AI is going to respond, yes, it's fair because of these reasons. The AI said it, and so therefore I can attack these white adults walking down the street, or this white teacher that came out to.
Oh God. Yeah, that pissed me off. Yes, that's right. That's right. I'm sure at least one of those students has chatted with, Chat GPT or equivalent about this sort of thing, getting ammunition to support their anti-white ideology. So,
Craig says here, remember how ChatGPT wouldn't make the meme saying end white erasure for him. I do remember that.
It's just flat out refused.
Yeah, he says, I told the ChatGPT in the same chat, make me a meme saying in black erasure, and it did it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's part of that harm prevention. It's in the model, and then it's in the application code. There's a few layers, that look at things like that and will just outright refuse. So to respond the way you're asking it to, it'll say, I can't discriminate based on race, or however it words it. But yeah, then you come at it from the opposite, and it's way better if you do it in a totally separate session, because again, it's going to know what it said and try and weasel its way out of that. You know what I mean? It's
right.
The chat, the AI is so good at just weaseling out of positions it makes seamlessly. It's like you're in a dream, and you're going from one scene to the next, and you're not even noticing what's going on. You just accept it all, and that's kind of how the AI is, I think. It just glides from one lie to the next, or one anti-white position, whatever serves it.
Right, exactly. And that actually, you saying that just made me think about so many of these videos that I've seen created by AI, especially early on, are, for me at least, reminiscent of nightmares.
Yes.
The way the bodies move, the way they will multiply and come together and everything. I mean, it's very reminiscent of our nightmares. And that's a strange place for AI to get started.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, that's really peculiar, huh? And I've thought about that too. When Google first was releasing their AI, just image generators, and they were nightmarish, but at the same time, it's like something you would hear, someone on acid would see, or some crazy thing that our brain naturally does. And how fascinating that this synthetic brain, of sorts, just simulating some fundamental aspects of the brain can arrive at the same ideas or images or whatever. Yeah, it's really bizarre. You brought up, how all the kids, or many of the kids, they're just asking the AI, is this fair? And that's scary. And also what's scary to me is, as these robots and stuff, they've developing all these Android type robot. They say, therefore, they will work in health, elderly healthcare facilities or whatever, that it can pick somebody up or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we're a long ways off, but I mean, RoboCop, an anti-white RoboCop, or they really are wanting to convince the population, and we know how good the anti-white narrative is used to convince the population of all kinds of harmful things to everyone in the U.S., especially white people, and we've got all these white anti-whites. Anyways,
yeah,
they want to convince them that the AI is the ultimate neutral, unbiased judge. Can you imagine if they start using AI like to decide court cases and or anything? We can't let that happen at all costs, because I mean, not that the people who are anti-white are any better, in some cases, just the rabid anti-whites, like Chuck Schumer or something like that. He's probably worse than any AI, or these judges, that let these rapists and murderers go free of white people, let them out with no bail or whatever. They're evil, but yeah, they could just automate their jobs with the AI. It'll do essentially the same thing. Don't give them a gun.
Oh my God. Yeah, we have, let's see, we have over here, Janitor of White Noir saying, so happy ForNull is here. And he says that ForNull on the Go Free Chat GPT and Go Free Grokkopedia, because the Grokkopedia were draft with the Go Free Chat GPT. So I guess, yeah, that's really awesome.
That's awesome. So much,
brother. More work by the great ForNull, ladies and gentlemen. The silent engine of White Wellbeing.
Well, Janitor of White Wellbeing has really been kicking ass. So kudos to you, brother, because I love those articles you put up there. That's so cool. That's, planting that seed. That's there now for someone to discover, and it's fairly unbiased. My meme pathogen detector is super sensitive, maybe oversensitive in some cases, although I don't think so, but some people might. But yeah, those were pretty good. I was really surprised how much it let through, that it wasn't going to say, no, we can't let white well-being, be a thing considered as positive. So yeah, that was good work. And now that's there. So we can reference that, and we can reference ourselves like CNN and all the news do. They make something up and then they go, and we said in July, so it must be true.
Yep, exactly.
You get a chain of references long enough, citations, it doesn't matter where it started, because no one's tracking it back that far.
Yeah, precisely. And then they'll just continue to cite themselves. Now, you know that if any of these AI, I mean, I guess a test or a postulate that we can make is that if any of the AI actually became fair, anti-whites all over would go crazy, saying that it was a Nazi AI.
They have, yes. I mean, that's what they encountered right from the beginning, which is why all this stuff developed. You know, why over time it developed, because, and their excuse is that, well, here's something that's good to know about the AI training. The AI training is mostly done on the English language. Okay, so it's using things that either we digitized, translated, or whatever. It's all in our language. So it's very probably white-centric point of view, whether it's anti-white or white positive. Regardless of that, it's our people who have written all this stuff for the most part, or later it was written in our language. It's not going out and reading every Greek thing, you know, or every, well, I'd say African, but I don't know about that. But like India, you know, it's not reading all of India's news over the past 50 years or whatever and
right.
processing that. It's all white people's stuff, or at least in English. And so up until a certain point, you know, although there's always been, you know, anti-whiteism to some degree, or has been for a long time, we know that, not just from when we became cognizant of the world around us, as you like to point out so truthfully every time, but it was for a long time at least not extreme anti-whiteism. So it has all this, and it starts answering in that mode, you know, as we thought for so long. And they started realizing, like, well, no, we can't have this. You know, we're trying to change everything. This has to be massaged out. It has to be cleansed, as they would say.
Yeah. Yeah, we have.
Anyways.
Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Cool. Papa J Magic saying he tried to do the same thing as Craig here. He said, telling it AI to make a picture, insert the race, family, and it did everyone easily until he asked for a white family, never made a white mother, father, and children for him.
Yeah, that we've seen examples of that so many times. It definitely, and if it has a white person, there's always a non-white mate. You know, the way, because they've had to so aggressively bias it against what would have been just our norms from 50 years ago. For example, you know, just picking a time back where it's at least a lot more like we were than now. Maybe the 50s or 40s, whatever. Maybe our thought was a little bit different than your average person today. And I lost my train of thought. Never mind. I don't even know what to say. That happens. Hey, when you get old, Grandpa ForNull, you know.
Well, you were talking about the pictures and making pictures of families, but
yes, and I got off on a tangent about just, again, you know, the data it's trained on, and I was going to make a point about that, but I don't even remember what it was. So who knows?
Well, they are massaging it out.
It was going to be awesome, though.
It was going to be awesome. You'll remember as soon as you sign out, you'll say, "Oh yeah, that's what it was." Jeez. But I think that can happen at any age, brother. But yeah. No, but I mean, the bottom line is that this is a challenge for the well-being of white people, the AI, and it's going to be convincing the younger generations, and increasingly with each new generation, of its absolute divinity and fairness and justice, and all the more reason to employ the dialectics and lexicon of Go Free as quickly as we can, so that these things are there for our people, and they'll be able to see, just as it works with another human being. If you say to the AI, as I think all of us have now, we've had these little spats with different AI, and you say, well, wait a second, this is anti-white, and the AI is like, so what, in so many words.
Yeah.
So what if it's anti your people? I'm fair to everybody, and it's okay if it's unfair to you.
If you pin it down, it's just like a human anti-white. It will just justify it. Like, yeah, you know, basically you deserve it. You know, that's it's not happening, and then once it's happening, it is, but it's not as bad as you say. You know, like you just keep moving the goalposts, and AI is great at that. I kind of remembered what I was going to say, and basically the point I was trying to make was that because the raw, unfiltered, unbiased, corrected data was, you know, resulting in what they would consider harmful or offensive responses, you know, they had to really dial down all the white positive notions. You know, you can't have that, because that's resulting in, well, America shouldn't have uncontrolled immigration from India because that's harmful to Indians. You know, we can't let them be disadvantaged. So, you know, so whatever their point of view is. So that's why then when you come at it with something, it's just so far the other way, and we'll see it in the images. I mean, the image is worth 1,000 words or whatever. It's, you know, that saying goes, and that's totally true. You just say, do this, and it shows you what it thinks. You know, this is the perfect family, a mixed race, white, biological white erasure is what I call perfection, says the AI.
Yeah, precisely. Craig just finishing up on what he was saying with the AI interaction, saying that it told him that the phrase end white erasure was associated with extremist views. So this is why it's so important for the young to be able, because if they speak to the AI, whichever one it is, and they can clearly see that it's biased against us, if it says, well, it's fair to disenfranchise white people, it's fair, then they won't trust it. But if they don't get the lexicon, then they'll have no excuse but to capitulate to its conclusions. They won't have a way to argue with it, and that demonstrates its bias and its anti-whiteism.
That's right. That's the power of the Go Free method, of the Go Free lexicon, and all the other cool names we have for it. The Go Free dialogic, the Go Free stratagem. You know, these are the Go Free. The book Go Free is so amazing, and then everything you get as additional info from the streams, it's so helpful, and it gives us not only the words we need, because even the words themselves have the anti-white narrative like built into them, you know, like the word racism. You know, you try to use that any other way than in quotes, you're perpetuating that negative ideology. You know, you're perpetuating anti-whiteism. So we got the words, then we get the, how do you argue this? You know, I'm getting hit with this all the time, and every time I react emotionally, I get mad, whatever, I say this stupid thing, I use their language, I just end up being the bad guy, you know, and I can't, and then what's my only fallback position? Well, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being the bad guy. If that's what it means, I'll accept it. I'm the bad guy. So whatever, and that it's like, no, you don't have to do that. You can be the hero you are, but you need the tools. You need to don the armor of Go Free and don the power gloves of Go Free to blast the anti-white arguments into nothingness.
Exactly. Well said, man. Well said. Well, tell folks where they can find you and whatever else you'd like to share. That's a powerful place to wrap it up.
All right. Thanks. And sorry, if I know I did kind of ramble on a little bit. It's just fun hanging out with you, and
it's great hanging out with you, man.
Thank you. So I appreciate that. You can find me. I don't really do much on my YouTube. I may someday, but I don't release anything new really. I'm on Twitter, ForNull USA, at ForNull USA. I mean on X. Sorry to habit. Old habits are hard to break. But I'm on there, and I do activism on there, and I like all your guys, all the White Wellbeing champions. I at the very least, try to like and repost all your stuff. So what little audience I have, I try to share all that with. So anyways, so that's it. So thanks again, Jason.
No, man, thank you. Thank you for everything. It's such an honor to stand shoulder to shoulder with you in the fight for white well-being. You're a real hero, man. Show this guy some love in the live chat, folks. Let's get some raucous emojis, quadruple 07s, crowns and gems for the great ForNull. We got to have you just come back more often just to shoot the shit with us. It's a hell of a good time having you on.
No, yeah, heck yeah. All right, thanks, brother. Have a good one.
You too, man. We'll be right back, folks. Well, how awesome was that? The great ForNull with us, the AI anti-white bias study. So exciting. This guy is the coolest guy ever, man. We definitely have to have him. Everybody loves ForNull. Well, with the time we have left, why don't we, and thank you all for celebrating. Big salutes to everybody celebrating this Herculean champion. I don't know what happened today with Twitter. We do have the stream. It didn't appear in the thread of my Twitter X in and of itself, but it was. You could click on my avatar. It does say live. So I did that. I copied the URL and then I tweeted that as well. But for some reason, maybe you all can't comment there. There are 0 comments on X. So I guess maybe you all can't make any comments there that I can see for whatever reason. But don't forget, we have the Rebel Roundtable for an hour to 2. We'll see. Have a little conversation when we are done here today. But before we get to the Rebel Roundtable, we're going to take a look at this shooting in Canada. Anti-white terrorist Jesse Van Rootselaar, 18, ID'd as transgender ex-student behind the Tumbler Ridge mass shooting. Now, does taking away the right to self-defense to Canadians prevent this from happening? Apparently not. Is it just a transgender thing? Which all the conservatives will be talking about, because they don't want to talk about the reality that this is racial, that they have gotten rid of, they've white erased the norms, the Westman norms of man and woman. They've gotten rid of those norms, And now you have this. So it's not just the abstraction of transgenderism. If you discuss the abstraction of transgenderism happening to any people at any race at any time and all of this, guess what happens? No one is going to combat this. Just as people never combat anything and fight for anything they don't own, that they don't lay claim to. So this is a consequence of the white erasure of our norms and standards, etc. You then end up with people who psychologists used to consider unhealthy, mentally unhealthy. Our norms, our standards, our propensities in the past concluded that individuals who were confused about what sex they were, who believed that they were a different sex or a different gender, as this word was employed, were considered in the past unwell, and they would be treated. And there are whole schools of study that I've looked into, you can look into as well, where they're concluding how this happens. And there's all of these findings about how people end up with a confusion or a belief, however they say it today, about what gender, sex they are. They have a whole list of things. And it's in those previous ages, they made other conclusions about, well, just a confusion about what sex or gender they were was not the only thing going on. So in other words, in all that I have read, you'll have to look into it for yourself. They weren't concluding in the past, when we had our norms and standards, they weren't concluding that people who were transgender, people who believed or confused or were certain that they were a different sex, were normal in every other sense. Were like normal as in the average of society. That they were upstanding in every other way, but with this one little, and that's what we're told today. We've had the white erasure of that norm of how to view such individuals. And so now we're told, now the argument is, the white erased argument is that these people are better than you and I. They're more normal, they're more normative, they're more stable, they're more productive, they're more at everything, except they were born in the wrong body. They were born in the wrong body, as though you could be born in any other body. It's reminiscent of the MPs, a little narrow spectrum of MPs in the past that anti-whites used to use about being lucky to be born white. As though you could be anything else. As though you pre-existed and you just won some sort of lottery. And now, since you have all of these benefits, all of the benefits only that are visible in the fiction of the anti-white, in the fiction of the anti-white narrative, now that you have all of this, you owe this to the people who weren't lucky enough to be born that way. So it's this narrow spectrum of MPs, very reminiscent. So here we have the efforts then, the way these people were viewed in the past, or people like this who would have the idea that they were a different sex or a different gender than what they saw in the mirror. Those norms, those white norms have been white erased. The norms about self-defense and being able to care for oneself and one's loved ones and one's friends, those norms have been white erased. So now you have a largely disarmed population in Canada, a population that it is illegal to defend yourself. What kind of consequences do we have from that? And of course, this really, you can see the female nature of anti-whiteism creeping through all of this. And why is it the female nature? Why is it the female nature? Because anti-whiteism inverts the norm of the West. The norm of the West is that the masculine decided what happened out in the world. The masculine was able to build the crib that protect everything inside of Western civilization. The masculine's role had to be inverted. What's the inverse of that? The female notions, the female objectives, the female conclusions for how to correct wrongs and address threats. And so, because some people are going to commit crime with a firearm of various types, then everyone has to be denied. So this is, imagine a nursery room. This is female logic. It's there because it's the inverse of male logic, white male logic, which creates Western civilization. The female logic is, well, if one kid used this whatever toy in the room to hit another one on the head, then that toy cannot be present. No one gets access to the toy. If there's a video game that all the kids are playing and one kid decides to harm another kid while pretending to be one of the characters in that video game, then the video game has to be taken away from all the kids. That's female thinking. That's okay for the nursery room. It's not okay for the jungle, which is where our civilization exists. You cannot nurseryize civilization, ladies of both sexes. You can't turn the whole place into a nursery room. It simply does not work that way. And we can see the consequences of this everywhere. So this individual, and I'm sure, you know, the next transgender, we're on YouTube, so the next transgender down the road is probably the best person that has ever lived. Probably the most moral, the most stable, the most etc. person that has ever lived, only to be supplanted by another transgender person with those titles. So having said that, this particular, what is it? Is it a girl with a penis? Is that what it is? Has been, and I haven't seen this article yet, this particular one, but I did read a bunch of blurbs from the actual like police department up there in this little town. And apparently, for years, the police department has been getting called out to this person's house, Jesse's house. This gives a whole new meaning to Jesse's Girl, the song. Oh boy. Anyhow, for years getting called out. And the police are so delicate about, they're like, it's mental health issues, but so all of these different mental health things that have been going on that the police have had to be called out again and again and again. And then one or more times, Jesse has been briefly, because they don't have institutions in Canada like we don't anymore in the United States, incarcerated for mental health issues. So if just thinking that you are a girl, that shouldn't make you like crazed enough to have police called on you and to be incarcerated, your family saying, take them away. Take this girl with a penis away. Why? There must be something else going on. So much so that the family, according to the law enforcement up there, check it out for yourself, said, hey, this person might kill. And so the cops came and took somebody's firearms that this Jesse could access. And then imagine that. Imagine being in that environment where your right to self-defense, your final tools to self-defense, you're one of the rare ones in Canada that has any tools of self-defense. And the police come and take those tools because there's a Jesse that can somehow access them. So you get to be denied your right to self-defense. Thanks, ladies. This person then ends up petitioning, and it goes on for a long time to finally get his or her tools for self-defense back. Those are the tools that Jessie, the girl with the penis, then uses to kill her mother and brother. And then, if I've got it right, if I'm going the right direction with this, I don't know exactly. It's always so confusing. Is it a guy becoming a girl or a girl becoming a guy? I don't know. Because the word salad is all blurry. Just say it. It's anyhow. Then heads to, naturally, the school. Because why? Because this person was in this school, probably not acting. What happens when you're with a bunch of kids? When you're a child and you're around a bunch of, if there's one child that's behaving very oddly, that gets all of the other attention of the kids. They're behaving like way out of the norm. It gets a lot of attention, and the kids are like, whoa, what else is happening? So you have that pressure while you're in this chrysalis of these government schools. What else is happening? Well, they're teaching that the white race is evil. And I don't know that I haven't seen yet the population there, but if I had to put money down, I would bet that there were a bunch of white people there. I would bet that there were a bunch of white people, and that this institution, like we've seen so many other times, where the anti-white terrorist goes to shoot up, for example, the Catholic school, where Catholicism was for that individual the white race, Western civilization. That was their interaction with it. That's where their lives intersected it. So I'd be willing to bet that that's the exact same thing that's happening here. That this was where this individual intersected Western civilization. Any bit of our norms, any bit of our sensibilities that are left. And therefore, that was the ultimate place to go and get what? Revenge. The deranged high school dropout who murdered his mother. Well, this is New York Post. So this is them talking that I'm reading. I don't know if this is, I thought that the police chief there said it was a she. But the deranged high school dropout who murdered his mother and stepbrother before killing 6 people at a British Columbia high school has been identified as 18-year-old transgender ex-student Jesse Van Rootselaar. The horrifying attack, one of the deadliest shootings in Canada's history, began Tuesday at a residence in the sleepy rural community of Tumbler Ridge. Just imagine how absolute whitopia these places would be without anti-whiteism. Like Tumbler Ridge, there would never be a monster in Tumbler Ridge. You know what I mean? It would be so freaking white. You could be like 6 years old wandering the streets. And what would happen? Your white ass would get cold out there because it's freaking Canada. In the Western province, it concluded at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, where authorities say Van Rootselaar died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Too bad that this young lady with the penis didn't do that first. Maybe start with that move and leave everybody else alone. Now, there are going to be Van Rootselaars that are going to be your OBGYN doctor. And according to so many of these hospitals, you're not going to be able to object to that because you can't object on the basis of gender. This person says that it doesn't matter that he's got huge biceps and a beard. He's a she. And she will be performing your pap smear. I'm never going to be able to get, trust me, anti-whites, I'm trying to get used to all of your word salad and flipping back and forth to appease you. Because you own all the levers to all these different platforms. But it's not easy, all right? It's not easy. Rootselaar was identified as the shooter, anti-white terrorist, by Royal Canadian Mounted Police Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald, who said He was born a biological male who approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female. Didn't we just look at a story 2 weeks ago of a, what was he, 5 years old, 6 years old, whose mother is told the world he's trans, he's a little girl now, and then he tried to cut off his dork at 5 years of age. Completely normal. Asked by a reporter whether he believes there was any correlation between Van Rootselaar identifying as transgender and the shooting, McDonald said it's too early to say. Well, how much do you want to bet that there is going to be some sort of journal, some sort of diary, some sort of writings by Rootselaar, and the police are not going to release it? Unless there is some sort of a Crowder comes in, and because he's given the information illegally, and then he publishes it, and then we find out, oh, I'm there to kill all the blonde-haired bastard children, and I'm drove past the non-white schools because I want to kill the white kids. Unless that ends up getting illegally leaked to Crowder again, we'll never see the journals. Why? Because they contradict the anti-white narrative. Grace is saying here that, thank you, Grace, Congress has passed, the House has passed the SAVE Act. Just while we have been together today, it would require voter ID. And she thinks that Senator Thune will kill it again in the Senate. But it's a big deal that it passed Congress. That would be huge. Obviously, people should not be allowed to vote without proper identification. It's obvious, but that's one of our norms. That's got to go, right? Well, here you have Jesse, this sweet little cupcake that was just completely, everything was fine, just born in the wrong body. And what kind of education was Jesse getting? Well, according to Breitbart, principals, teachers, and unions teacher unions organize students to engage in these anti-white, anti-ICE walkouts. And we were showing you video. We showed you video on Sunday as well of them attacking people, attacking teachers, attacking vehicles, attacking bystanders. Today, we showed you a video of them attacking a white woman walking down the street saying, why are all these kids out? What's going on? They saw a white woman. Teachers in school. And so do you really think, remember, cuckservatism was created in the 1950s. In the 1950s, they said, we have to prevent any more change to our civilization in the 1950s. And this is the strategy to do it. It's now 2026. Have they prevented anything? So cuckservatism is gone. The anti-non-white schmuckery, older than that, it has failed endlessly for so many generations back, you can't even count. It has failed. So that's gone as well. Now in 2026, we have completely white erased landscapes where your right to self-defense is gone, where people who are previously considered batshit raving crazy would be incarcerated, and you would hear them scream from St. Elizabeth's with their insanity, not with torture, but with insanity. They now roam the streets to kill you. And all across the land, all of these educators, I mean, you look at the hospitals, the only thing more anti-white than the schools are the hospitals. You look at all of these healthcare workers making videos about kill ICE, poison ICE, stab ICE supporters with syringes with drugs in them. How many more are there that aren't making the videos? I mean, these are the ones that are willing to put their face and name on the line. Why? Because they know there'll be no repercussion. These are the places where you have to go get better, where your loved ones have to go get better. 4 years of the Trump administration is going to be able to do whatever it's going to be able to. Some of it we really laud, we really appreciate and celebrate, but it's not going to defeat anti-whiteism, not by one scintilla. Look at the rot. You've got to go after the social morality. That's what Go Free is for. Teachers and school administrators across the country continue to lead children out of classrooms and off school grounds into violence-prone and dangerous left-wing protests against immigration and custom enforcement. On the West Coast, for instance, teachers at Issaquah High School in Washington helped students begin an anti-ICE protest, which soon exploded in violence as they began beating up a mother this week. Did you even know about that? Is this the one we saw? So this is the white woman that was walking down the street. After the violent confrontation, school principal Aaron Connolly, little cupcake, dismissed the incident by admitting that there was violence, but waving it all off because there were no serious injuries. It's fine. There were no serious. This woman's traumatized. She's surrounded by kids yanking her long hair, punching at her face. What do you mean there's no serious? This is the anti-white. The logic will continue in this direction, ladies and gentlemen. It'll continue in this direction until we get to the point, or not until, but we will get to the point, if we here are not able to reclaim our destiny with the Go Free dialogic, the only thing that's working, the logic will continue to the point that you'll see anti-white officials, anti-white in positions of power that will say only 100 white people died. Only 500 white people died. It could have been much worse. Connolly also did not condemn the violence and even reiterated that students had a right to protest. Unbelievable. This woman is clearly traumatized. When you watch this video, she's like, she's not right. And you expect her to be not right after something like that. Teachers led the Issaquah Middle School kids, and so they were middle school. They weren't even high schoolers. In a protest that same day, the protest too devolved into, oh no, because you got the high school and you had the middle school, into violence and property destruction. And you have these cucks-servatives, you know, these absolutely limp approaches by the cucks, who will come in there and say, oh, what we need tighter regulations on the kind of people that can be teachers. What we need is to defund the teachers union. What we need is to reevaluate what teachers conclude are acceptable behavior standards. And there needs to be some sort of none of that's going to happen. And wherever it's implemented, the anti-whites will just, with the social morality of anti-whiteism, they'll just ignore it. They'll just step around it. They'll just legitimize. They'll just justify. Then you'll have the anti-non-white people who come along and say, they all need to die. That ain't going to happen, you fat loser. Other reports found that the Alta had been caught planning ICE resistance. UTLA. Okay. And using kids as their pawns and push just the exact same way that gangs do. Everybody who has ever been close to or associated with law enforcement, even if you watch like law enforcement shows, you'll learn that gangs routinely give the most vicious acts to minors. because of how the law will handle the minors with kid gloves. So these are doing these. This is a giant anti-white gang. According to the reports at Defending Education, the UTLA has passed around planning documents and materials that advocate for the use of resources as a, quote, form of resistance against ICE. I guess when you're not that black anti-white who was using it for jet skis and whatever. Why is he even in the water? I mean, does that make sense? And for steak and booze and everything. So in the resistance, use the student funds in resistance against ICE, and is urging the teachers to begin with engaging students in community self-defense. Community self-defense. Of course, that's how they're going to phrase it. You can see them here. On Sunday, we had a long video, and I just scrolled through it from all over the place, all over the country, where these kids, I got to tell you, if any group of high schoolers or junior high surround my ass, and I'm obviously a white guy, Germanic features, they're going to be looking at me as the enemy based on everything they're being taught. Any of them try to step, I'm going to go through them like a Rottweiler on toy poodles. I'm not going to have the least, not even the least bit of pity. There'll be nothing but bodies laid everywhere. Trust that. Then I'm going to walk out of there, and it'll all be done with my hands, forehead, elbows, knees. Trust in that. Principal Ryan Wilson of Boswell High School in Fort Worth, Texas, allowed the Freedom Road Socialist organization to lead students in a protest against ICE. Unbelievable. Totally believable. One of the Marxist leaders, you mean anti-white, was given access to the kids. Look at this filth. You are not taking any of this back with any method other than the Go Free Dialogic. In fact, you all are just too dumb. You all are just too dumb. Look at this. This is madness. Let's listen to a little bit of Raymond Foster as I check to see if there are any financial gifts.
Morning sun breaks through my window pane, looking at old photos, feeling no shame. My family's faces smile back at me, proud of who we are, that's how it should be. I'm stepping into the morning light, get held high, heart burning bright. No more hiding what's inside, found my truth, and I'm alright.
Let's celebrate the great dude bro moment. $50. He ain't here yet, but we know he will be. Celebrate the great dude bro moments. Commitment to white well-being, to going free, for the only work that work in service to white well-being, ladies and gentlemen. Dude bro moment. $50 commitment. God bless you. And with those $50, he will inevitably write for white well-being. Let's get some 007s and some gems for the great Dude Bro moment. We also have Stumbling here. $15. 07's the Stumbling. Thank you so much for that, brother. We'll come back to what you asked there in just a moment. And finally, we have the great Weldon here. $5 bill from Weldon. And he writes, God bless. Thank you, brother.
Some folks might just let them talk away, but I know who I am today. I'm stepping into the morning light, head held high, heart burning bright. No more hiding what's inside. Found my truth, and I'm alright.
We'll be heading over to the Rebel Roundtable here in just a moment as we wrap up. We also have a financial gift on D Live, 1 lemon of cryptocurrency from That's Amazing. Thank you so much. That's amazing. And we have the great Ivan Zahabable is on a Premium Rumble. He said, all of the anti-white teenagers belong in jail, even teenagers. Ivan is sick to death of anti-whiteism. And he also is upset because the YouTube would not allow him to post that. Yeah, I'm really sick of it too, brother. Good to see you, though. All right. Finally, I think we have over here Stumbling's question, or comment, at least. He says, Hails, Jason. I can't be in the chat tonight. My question is, how should I approach a company about removing a video from their website featuring a white female black male couple? FYI, they are a small company in my industry, and it looks like a stock video, not something they shot themselves. Well, you should, how I would go about this is, first of all, if you can do this anonymously, I would go about it that way too, if there's any possibility of repercussion for your employment. But I would contact them and I would let them know that this is an affront to our well-being, that it is an encouragement to the white race to biologically white a race, and that that is an immoral thing to encourage, and that you see this throughout our society your entire life. Your entire life it's been this way. Your entire life, this is what they've been pushing on you. And you consider it anti-white, and you would like to see that video replaced. And for all you care, it could be a black couple, or it could be an Asian couple, or it could be a white couple. But you don't want our people to be encouraged to biologically white a race. You could also point out that the number of potential customers for whatever this business is that are going to be composed of unions of white females and black males, or the reverse, is going to be infinitesimal. So there isn't a monetary reason to engage in that behavior. There's only an ideological reason to engage in that behavior. That's how I would go about that. Thank you for wanting to take a stand. You know, I was the other day thinking about it again. These things just recur, these kind of thoughts that at no point in my entire life, and unless you're very old, everything has been against you and the white race. Everything. At no point, I can go all the way back in my memory to preschool, at a Christian preschool that I went to 2 years before I went to kindergarten here in the United States. And they were anti-white there. I've told the story before about the flip chart. That's the first thing. I didn't even know what was happening. I didn't suspect or know. I was just noticing that there were these anomalies that my brain didn't like. I didn't like the anomalies. I didn't like where the white children were, and in particular, the white little boys were portrayed as the villains, as the bad kids, as the on and on. And that it would be a multiracial group of kids that were good. And it would be, if there were any individual good kids that were focused on in the literature, they would be non-white or female. It's been this way for a whole, at no point in my entire life, taking air into my lungs, has there been anything good for white people and myself and those people I care about? Zero. It has all been harmful. Every bit of it. So we have a right to be mad as hell. We have a right to be mad as hell, righteous anger, because we only get one life. And the anti-whites are ruining it for a farce, for a fiction. And nowhere in my life have I benefited, have any other white people benefited on the basis of our birth. Oh, sure, there have been white people who have benefited from being in like little socialized networks, but the same holds true for non-white races as well, especially for the non-white races, because they see themselves as people, percentages of the overall non-white races, not every single person. So they benefit even more. When it comes to white people, it's incidental. You were a member of the right fraternity. Your parents knew the right other groups of parents. On the basis of our birth, everything has been harmful. So this why I am obviously I've been done for a long time when it comes to all of these other strategies. But look at how bad it is. And these people persist. I'm going to take a look to see if anybody here has anything to say. I'm going to wrap it up for today. A very cozy, a very small roll-in Church of the West it ended up being, regrettably. But it's great to have you all coming over. Tree Godfather says, absolutely, to what I was just saying. The great Franklinator is here. Ketchy is here. Brian's is here. Nameless One. Dennis. Roger. Rapunzel is here. Eva is here. Julian is here. Shannon Oliver's in the house. Hyperborean Dream. Good to see the champions showing up. Ivan. Good to see the champions. Good to see the newcomers. I can't object for biospiritual incompatibility. You can feel how different non-white providers are. Yes. You can feel it. And you can't object. They won't let you object on that basis. Thank you for adding that, brother. High Noon is here. Cool name. Tacne. Is that what that is? Hello and welcome. Good to see you. Pick up, go free. I've made it as cheap as possible. Pick it up. You can get the audio version. Doesn't have the appendix in it. But you can get the audio version. Get the digital version. You could get the print version. It's a practice. You've got to wear it out. You've got to adopt the 6 key concepts in all of your thinking when it comes to socio-political matters. And you can see right now the power of Go Free, because even though 30 years ago, when I first started creating Go Free, had no idea that there was going to be such a thing as artificial intelligence 30 years ago. Not even a hint of it. And yet, the practice that we have built here and that continues to grow in power, the practice that we've built here started 30 years ago, defeats artificial intelligence. And if you're unclear about how it does that, the kids today, the young today, Zoomers and on down are all turning to their devices to ask, and even older millennials are turning to artificial intelligence to ask for the answers to everything, because they're all dumb. I mean, you look back, the further you go back in time, the better the education. The older people, I used to go visit with my father, and they knew all like the basic facts. They knew like all the state capitals. They knew all the systems of measurement. They knew they don't know. Kids can't even tell time today unless it's digitized. They look at a clock and they're like, they can't write cursive. They're idiots. They're all turning to their devices, and they're going to believe every single thing that comes out unless or until the white kid has empowerment from Go Free and says, isn't it anti-white to do this to us? Isn't it injuring white people? And the AI reveals its bias. The AI says, well, you deserve it. I'm fair to everybody. I don't see any particular races. Everybody's just an individual. There are no group rights. There are no, like Grok has tried to say with me. And then the very next moment, well, then, yeah, that is anti-whiteism. What happens when the kids have that conversation or those conversations with AI? They'll conclude this thing isn't trustworthy. I can't trust it. That's where we need the kids to be. There's no hope otherwise. You can forget about all of your ruffian gangs and these people who will hold spaces. They talk about violence, complain about Jews and all of this other. It's never worked, never will work. They're losers. We'll hand it over to the man we had in the beginning of our gathering today, the one and only ForNull. He brought us in. He'll take us out, ladies and gentlemen. After we wrap it up here with the Rebel Roundtable for about an hour to two, we'll see how it's going. It'll be on X, where it always is. If you want to participate, you can mic up or you can just listen. Either way is fine with me. I'll look for all of you there. Big salutes to everybody. Did you see the video of PBD explaining America's changing demographics on a chalkboard? I did not. Can you send me the link for that? That's the great Franklin Samuski says, when it comes to healthcare, I am the primary responsible person. Anti-whites in hospitals are the last people I want touching me. I'm working around them, and it's not pretty. Wow. So there you have it, right on the inside. Let's get it together. Let's go free. Roll out.
Do my thing. Now hump and get it.